The COVID vaccines are here.
Know the facts.
Get the shot.
End the pandemic.
The vaccines are proven safe and effective.
The vaccine does not contain COVID.
Nor will it give you COVID.
Side effects are relatively minor.
Arm pain, fatigue, and low-grade fever.
COVID-19 vaccine protects you
And those you love.
as healthcare workers.
We're setting the example
For our patients
And our community.
This is your shot.
schedule your COVID-19 vaccine today.
I think we've improved. I think we've had short practices, and it's been pretty good work, So, yeah, I think it's been pretty good.
Players were switching around their jersey numbers the other day. That throw you off a little bit?
Just a little. Yeah, all the skilled guys want to wear lineman jerseys and vice versa. And actually, we used to do that at Tech every Thursday. Yeah, a little bit, but then you try to sort out body types and stances and stuff. But yeah, 63 all of a sudden got a lot more miniature out there yesterday.
What's it mean to still have these Texas Tech fans greeting you and wishing you good luck and everything like that after 12 years since you've been there?
No, Tech fans are fantastic. I mean, that's, as 10 years, and those were, I think we shared some great 10 years there. I hear from Tech fans all the time, and always excited to hear from them. And then, of course, from my former players and stuff like that, I hear from them a lot too. So, and actually, even have some Tech fans that, help them get into the hotel, the whole thing, which I'd like to think they're rooting for Mississippi State this time around, and they probably are. But, they're Tech fans, and I met them there at Texas Tech.
Is it weird, the novelty of coaching against someone that played for you?
Nah, I'm kind of getting used to that. There's a point to where, as much fun as that sounds, you got so much going on the sideline that you're just trying to sort it out and solve the problems. There's a quick hi, how are you doing before the game starts? But I'm trying to think as far as well, there's a number of guys that play for me that are out there coaching too. I lose track, but a lot of guys that work for me or play for me.
What do you remember about Sonny as a player?
He's a good player. Came in as a walk-on. From Snyder, which is right down the road, and just continued to practice. Made himself a good player. Really threw a great fade route. Just progressively improved, and just kind of did what he's told, followed the recipe, and got better and better, and of course became a starter.
Did you ever think Sonny would be the coaching type when he was a player?
I did, kind of, yeah. As a matter of fact, he was, I don't know if it was a student assistant or a GA for me for a while.
Mike, where would you rank Sonny's last game at the Holiday Bowl beating Aaron Rodgers in your list of best victories or best bowl victories?
That was a big bowl victory, I'll tell you, because, it was literally the state of Texas versus the state of California. Texas played USC in the national championship, and we played Cal, I think was the only team that had beaten USC. And yeah, they're a loaded up group, but Sonny threw for 415 yards or something like that. Aaron Rodgers threw for 260, and we had a big day. And of course, they also had Deshaun Jackson, Marshawn Lynch, a bunch of defensive players. It was a great game. It was a wild game, and it was an exciting game.
Sonny's making the transition from an OC to a head coach. Do you remember that transition was like for you going from Oklahoma to Tech?
Yeah, you just have more stuff to balance. It's starting out, you have more to do than you have time to do it. Because it's a blur, and so you got to figure out what's most important. And then some problems you have to sort out which ones you're going to wait out, which ones that you're going to address. And because some will solve themselves. And then you got a lot of stuff to balance. The first and quickest lesson I learned is I needed to hire a staff. Otherwise, I was going to be recruiting the whole class myself. And so I raced in my office and picked up the phone and started calling a bunch of prospects. I called about 10 of them. Then I thought, what the hell am I doing? I go, listen, now we'll never get anybody recruited if I'm just sitting here calling them all myself. I said, you know, even though I have to spend 2 days, which are 2 days I don't have, I need to get staff here. I need to hire a staff so that, you know, we can kind of duplicate our efforts here. So I got the staff hired, got them on the road, had a pretty good class. So.
Mike, Sonny said that one of the main reasons he came to Texas Tech was when he was a walk-on from Snyder. You took him around and showed him, when you gave him like a tour of facilities or campus, maybe you said that you made him feel like he was being treated just like the scholarship guys. Do you have a recollection of that when he first came on campus?
Yeah, yeah, and then, we wanted him to feel that way because we thought he was a pretty good player. We thought he was a pretty good player, and we were filled up on quarterbacks, and thought he could, you know, develop into a scholarship guy, which I think it took him a year was all.
I know it's been a while since you've been in the Big 12, but just having been now in the SEC for a couple of years, what are the biggest differences you see between the two conferences, just in terms of play style or whatever?
I don't know. I don't know how much differences there is. Everybody wants differences. You know, everybody wants to have differences so then they feel like they're special and the other guy's not quite as special as they are. You know, I mean, I don't know how many differences there are. I think, you know, both of them throw it well, both of them run it well, both of them have some variety in offense. I think in some cases D lines are better in the SEC. I think the skill guys are similar.
We've seen it for a couple of years now, but maybe more this year than ever. The transfer portal, I've seen a lot of guys in it. How does that change off seasons for teams and just how much movement there could be between players and programs?
Yeah, hard to tell. I mean, I think we're still trying to sort it out. I think as coaches, we don't know exactly. I think we're, you know, even though I'm against it, it hasn't hurt me very much. Our teams are, with rare exception, anybody we lost were the guys we needed to lose, and we've certainly gotten some good players as a result of the transfer portal. You know, Gardner Minshew at Washington State, Mekhi Polk here at Mississippi State. So, you know, I think that it's. Yeah, I think don't ignore it as a resource. I think in the end, I guess I feel like the core of your team needs to be built with high school kids. You know, guys that really come to your program because they're really excited about it and really want to lock into what you have to offer and what you're doing. And then, but don't ignore the transfer portal as a resource. And then we'll see what happens. You know, I forget the number, something like 3,500 people that were in the transfer portal were left out in the cold last year. So I think that's damaging. That's pretty damaging to those that don't find a place. And some of them are guys that needed to get themselves sorted out to begin with, you know. And then you know, hopefully they all get degrees because the world's better if they have degrees, I think. And then, so I think that's a very damaging aspect of it that people don't talk about. They just talk about the glory into it, and then, you know, but don't ignore it as a resource. And but how much to indulge it? That's the trick. That's the balance. I mean, how many slots do you save for the transfer portal? Who knows? You know.
Is that kind of why you're against it, or is there other reasons besides the damaging aspect?
Yeah, I'm against it because I think it damages. I think it damages individuals and it damages teams. I think there were a lot of times when I was, you know, 18 years old or so, and you know, things would get tough, and you know, sometimes people encouraged me to push through. Sometimes I did it on my own. Sometimes, but you know, if it's just if all of a sudden it's easy to cut and run, and that was also kind of something you didn't do back then. If it was easy to cut and run, you don't finish out some things that I think are highly beneficial, that are incredibly beneficial to people. And if you don't believe me, ask the 3,500 that went in the portal that didn't end up anywhere. You know, how the portal helped them. And then I do think in some cases, you know, the flexibility is good, but you know, they already pretty much have that. You know, they already pretty much, you know, have that. You know, you have to sit a semester or whatever originally, or if you graduate. I like that one. I always thought, you know, the guy graduates, going to go on and get a master's, wants to transfer, whether even if it's for playing purposes, he can go ahead and do it, you know. But there ought to be some things that in it that really encourage graduation and really encourage. And if a guy's graduated and he decides he's going to transfer, I mean, that guy's worked like crazy there. He's established himself there. He knows the strengths and the weaknesses. It's not just cutting out, but you know, some of these guys, if you let them, they'll just transfer somewhere every year. Well, that's madness, you know. And I can think of a few instances of that. It's ridiculous.
How tough is it to adapt to all of that, whether these new philosophies or new rules, where there's transfer portal or the idea that guys could opt out ahead of a bowl game, just in terms of your perspective as a head coach, not knowing, you know, who's going to be on your team, let alone in a year, maybe a week?
Just you lost me.
Well, just in terms of all these new philosophies and rules with the transfer portal, with players opting out, just these new different ways where the roster change, makeup can change on an instant.
Well, I think the dust is going to settle on it at some point, you know. I was mentioned before, I think opting out is ridiculous, and, you know, contrary to what's been said, no, I offered to stay for every bowl that I was a part of, and then, you know, but a coach is, and if you don't believe me, ask Sonny right now, a coach is busy as can be going off somewhere to be a head coach. A guy, quote unquote, preparing for the NFL, he's not doing anything. He's not doing it. The training center's not open. The NFL's busy playing. I mean, he's not doing anything. The best training he can be doing is preparing for a game and playing in a game. And yet, you know, somebody will get invited to the Pro Bowl. They're going to play in the Pro Bowl. You know, what about getting injured in that game? You know, I mean, so no, it doesn't make any sense to me.
How do those conversations go with the players that do ultimately opt out?
Not short. I mean, you know, I tell them what I just told you, and then, you know, they go ahead and do it, and then off we go. So, you know, you move on with the guys that are there. So,
did Malik Keith make the trip with you guys, and do you have any update on how he's doing?
Yeah, we don't have any comment on who made the trip or who didn't make the trip. You know, we'll let our opponents sort that out. You know, so.
Going back to Sonny, does it feel any more special going against coaches who sort of came up under you?
I don't. Yeah, again, you lose track of that when it comes to the. You know, once the ball's kicked off, you know, then it's. You know, it's like. I don't know. I was going to say a really intense video game, although it then occurred to me I don't play video games. Yeah, I just, you know, just kind of this really intense, because, you know, on the best sideline, on the best football sideline, it's organized chaos, you know, I mean, because people running everywhere, doing this, doing that, you know, and because there's so many moving parts, and so along with that, a lot of the sentimentality, it goes right out the window, because, you know, that's overtaken by, you know, what the hell did the right guard do on this last play? I mean, well, where was the receiver? And then did that safety roll down, or did he stay back? I mean, are we still having trouble with that defensive end? Yeah, I mean, it just gets all into a mishmash of trying, and then you do it all within 25 seconds, try to attack, you know, what the other guy's doing, so.
Is there any shades of you in some of those guys, I mean, in particular, when it comes to their play calling?
You know, I'm too close to the fire to really say on that. I've heard people say that about, you know, some of us, you know, or like somewhere how we talk, or the slang, or the, you know, just the vernacular or whatever. And I can't say they're wrong. I'm just, you know, I mean, some of that stuff that I'm not even aware that, if they say, yeah, they're a lot like you, they probably are. I mean, I'm not keeping close track on some of it,
Is there anything about Texas Tech that sticks out to you that might challenge you guys tomorrow?
They're explosive. I think the whole thing in Texas Tech will be challenging. I think they're a good explosive football team. I think they, and while I had a hand in building this, I mean, it's a kind of a tough, never surrender mentality, which I'd like to think I had a lot to do with elevating that. And then, in the players that I had the pleasure of coaching, the coaches I had the opportunity to coach. And no, I mean, I don't think it's going to be easy. I think they're tough. I think they're not going to quit, and I think they're explosive.
So, kind of like the question earlier about, not sentimental, but going up against a coach that you coached for, a team, a program that you just said you kind of elevated. Anything about that you're going to be thinking about or have been thinking about?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about, okay, if we run this play, is this guy going to be open or that guy going to be open? Maybe instead we should run this one. Who should play receiver on this particular play, this back or that back? No, you get wound up you get caught in the weeds too far to do that. You do that when you're old, you do that when you sit around somewhere, maybe with somebody in the summer, if you run into one of these guys that you worked against, and then you might do a little of that,
Will mentioned yesterday that he appreciates that you give him the ability to, check at the line, audible. I guess what goes into you being a quarterback coach goes into building that trust where you feel confident the quarterback has the ability to do that at the line?
You just ingrain it, from the first day, on, even through film. I mean, what do you like here? What do you like there? What would you do here? What about this,
Mike, Will Rogers, which of your Texas Tech quarterbacks is he most like, and in what ways?
They're all pretty unique. Well, he's a lot like Graham from the standpoint he had the ability to play early, and his father was a high school coach and knew a lot about offense and liked throwing the ball, so already had a good knowledge base and already had a good ability to watch film. And, in Will's case was about a necessity, forced to play early because it's not exactly my favorite thing to play a true freshman, but I did anyway. And I didn't have a choice, And then, but ready to play early, and he keeps getting better too.
Hey Mike, just a local question. Just how are you guys liking Memphis so far? I know you got it a couple days ago.
It's been great. It's a deal where you could have a lot of fun in Memphis. If you weren't preoccupied with all the the practice and whatnot. But Memphis is right up the road from Starkville, so I've kind of been mapping it out. Maybe spend about 4 days in the Peabody, check it all out. Go to all the stuff that I didn't really have time to do this trip, but
Going back to Will, I guess, what have you seen from him this year that's been the biggest improvement, whether it's on the field or just maturation?
Well, progressively, he does a great job in the locker room. He is never one of those guys. I'm a young guy, I'm afraid to talk, I'm afraid to say something. He was never like that. And so then I think he got people behind him very quickly. I just think altogether he's getting, you try not to have a quarterback with just a glaring weakness or even a player. You just try to avoid guys that have totally glaring weaknesses, but then you want to just sort of improve things overall. Just, kind of improve them one break at a time. And I didn't feel like he has glaring weaknesses. I think his feet are getting a little quicker. I think the ball's coming off his hand a little faster. I think he could throw it a little further. I think improving and quicker with his reads, but I think he's a work in progress in all of it.
You've been to quite a lot of bowl games. Where does this trophy kind of rank compared to some you've seen? Do you think you'll be able to lift that up if you win?
I don't think I can lift that thing up. I don't know. I could practice. I'll definitely have to have a guy on either side, I would think. I mean, it looks heavy anyway, and I don't think they're giving out a plastic trophy because there's one in my office it's actually got that thing in it. So I rang it a little bit, to see if it would actually ring. I didn't want to crack it, because historically it cracked. And then, but it'll make a little bit of noise for you.
From your historical studies, how much more do you know about the Liberty Bell than maybe the Lynn?
Well, I know that they're all very proud of it. I think that the one was the second or third one, and then I think that, and maybe I'm wrong about that, and then they rang it, and had the big day, it's going to be the biggest bell ever, rang it, and then they just cracked the hell out of it, and then they loved the fact that it symbolized freedom and liberty, something that I think our country ought to keep in mind nowadays. And because, right now it's a cottage industry to invent rules on everything, so maybe they ought to take a gander at the Liberty with the bell and the fact that it does represent freedom and liberty, hence the Liberty Bowl, okay? And then but despite the imperfection, it represents something that was very important to our country, so it's withstood the test of time.
Mike, in Texas Tech, you're going to be facing pretty much a redshirt freshman who's had about 3 starts under his hand in his first bowl game. What have you seen out of Dominus in this one?
He's kind of dynamic guy, has pretty quick feet, can spit the ball, out of his hand, that type of thing. I think he's gonna be a really good player. I think he is now, and I think that, he's gonna get more and more experience and build on that.
Do you try and rattle a guy like that who hasn't played at this, level in his college football career yet?
Well, we try to rattle all of them. I mean, we try to rattle all of them, try to hit them too, so.
With New Year's coming up, do you have any resolutions for you or the team?
No, I probably ought to think of some, because I think the wise thing for me would be to narrow it down to just a couple, because if we address all the problems, that's probably going to be too comprehensive and too many to address, so we might have to work on this a couple of years at a time.
Like you alluded to a moment ago, Memphis being right up the road from Starkville, for Tech folks who haven't experienced the Mississippi State crowd, how would you describe it, and how much of an advantage do you feel like you have tomorrow night based on that?
I don't know how many of what, who and what. It's a very enthusiastic crowd. I mean, it's a very excited, enthusiastic crowd, and of course the cowbell is a symbol that's very important to us at Mississippi State. And, they just like to celebrate football in the bowl, and I don't know how many of each side are showing up, but I would think quite a few. And so, advantage, I don't know if it's an advantage, but I'm thrilled to have them there.
Are you thrilled to have the bells back? I know you couldn't have them at the Liberty Bowl back in September.
Yeah, thrilled to have them, and also thrilled to have any Tech fans that are rooting for Mississippi State. I would certainly encourage all of them to do that.
Have you ever had a school with fans that are rooting for you before?
I don't know, maybe. You'd have to ask them, I guess, but maybe. I mean, I hope so. I kind of like the energy going one way or the other. It's not all bad that they hate you either. I mean, we used to go to Kyle Field, no place that hate me, so that had its own charm to it too. You walk in there and turn and hiss at the crowd, and it's like being at an Ozzy Osbourne concert for 4 hours. It was outstanding,
Is there any advantage at all to playing in a same stadium twice, even though it's a different opponent?
Not a big one, I mean, we know where the locker room is, although we're not even in that locker room this time around, so.
Is there anything about Lubbock in particular that you miss?
Oh, yeah, well, one is Kegel Steaks. if you haven't been to Lubbock, go eat Kegel's Steaks. That'd be one for sure. The people are great people there, you know. I had a great experience in Lubbock, you know. Of course, anytime you build, it's exciting to build, and you know, of course, we went to 10 straight bowls, and yeah, it was an exciting time. So, but you know, I miss everywhere that I've been to or coached at for different reasons, you know. I haven't been anywhere that I have negative memories of or that I wouldn't want to go back to. I thought they were all pretty exciting for different reasons. But the biggest thing generally is the people. The people are pretty good people everywhere. I mean, well, I guess in Lubbock there were 4 bad apples that were determined to cheat me out of my salary. I mean, we know about that, but in the other 4 years on my contract, and then continue to hide the documents illegally. But short of that, I mean, I thought everybody was great, you know.
I know that you said this isn't feel personal, but is this sort of a revenge game for you?
Well, but I don't have anything against Texas Tech per se. I've got most respect for their team, their fans, their players, their coaches, you know. So, and then the other thing is you know, I take a lot of pride in what we accomplish at Texas Tech.
Is it draining to be in a legal battle for as long as it's been?
Well, I mean, you'd rather not. I've been willing to settle this thing for a long time, but you know, you know, they don't seem to be willing to. So, you know, I think that's unfortunate. So I think all the people there are great. But, you know, some of the leadership is, you know, they're at least when I was there, was very sleazy and slimy and dirty, and well, you know, I enjoyed naming names on it too, and which I might as well, but yeah, they all know who they are. The Tech people know who they are too. So, I mean, we should get this thing settled. They should pay me, and you know, we should all celebrate, you know, achievements together. But that doesn't seem to be, you know, what they have in mind. And you know, they talked about they had some investigation or something. They never had an investigation. They lied about having an investigation, and then they won't produce the documents to prove they had an investigation. Well, it just goes to show you how Kent Hance and some of his little cronies, how sleazy those guys are. And so let's go ahead and see it. And then, of course, it's going to illustrate they lied to the fans and everybody else. So, and then they continue to hide documents and everything from sexual assault and everything else. So, you know, the leadership of anywhere that categorically and that hides documents the public has a right to see. Well, think about that. And it's really a shame because the good people in Lubbock, Texas and West Texas deserve quite a lot better. So.
You said 4 bad apples. You're referring to whom in there? You said 4 bad
I mean, do it in some other setting. I have for years, and I can give you another copy of my book. It's all in there, you know. And the funny thing about it, I wrote the book Swing Your Sword, I don't know, years ago, and then you know, I'm thinking Moral Uncover and stuff like that, where I talk about the departure from Tech. Every bit of it's true, 100% true, and nothing has changed in either direction on it. How about that?
How long are you willing to practice as technical?
Thank you, Coach.
Forever. Why not? I mean, what do I got to lose? You know, I don't have anything to lose. I mean, they cheated me out of $2.6 million plus 4 years remaining on my contract, and I think settling for 2.6 is very generous on my part. And then the hiding of documents becomes even more disgusting because, you know, that shows a level of corruption. So, you know, I mean, I wouldn't even rule out some, you know, criminal prosecutions on the thing. I mean, we'll see how it unfolds.
You say you dreamed that law degree coming to use?
The first thing they teach is never be your own attorney. That's the first thing they teach in law school, which I think is pretty good advice.
All right, thanks, guys.